Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of Scouting for Chelsea on Chelsea Perspective. But before we continue, please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and more importantly, click on the bell notification button so you don't miss anything. Today I have with me a very special guest, somebody who knows the club very well, historically and otherwise. Max, welcome to Chelsea Perspective.
Thank you very much, Coachila. Thank you for having me on your channel. A pleasure to be here.
More thanks to you for finding the time to be here with me to present this episode of Scouting for Chelsea to the fans. So, Max, what player did you scout? What position does he play in, and why would you like Chelsea to sign the player?
Yeah, so I decided not to go with some of the obvious players or some of the players that we're seeing in the Europa League. The European Championships at the moment, because sometimes we tend to look at some of these players and get reactionary if they have a good game. So I've done some searching and some scouting, and I've gone for a Dutch striker by the name of Myron Boadu. So this guy,
Myron Boadu.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he plays for AZ Alkmaar in the Eredivisie, and he's a striker of Ghanaian descent. And I've sort of looked at him and his style of play, and I think that he would be a good fit for Chelsea, because sometimes with Chelsea, what we do, we try and go for the known names, the big names, etc. And we're very good at getting youngsters in, aren't we? So our academy is really good. We're really good at getting in players who are big stars, but it's the ones who are sort of the unknowns, and to turn them into a star, those are the ones that we kind of struggle with. So that's why I went for this guy, Myron Boadu.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, because you can argue usually actually that big name strikers or maybe blockbuster signings haven't really, in terms of strikers, haven't really worked for us. But I know you have a different argument in that aspect. I remember your argument for Fernando Torres and every other striker that was signed up had issues at the club. But that's by the way. So Myron Boadu, please, can you give us a lowdown of his profile, his statistics and everything there is to know that makes him a good fit for Chelsea?
Yeah, so first of all, I'll run through his stats, and then I'll go through his style of play. This guy, he's 6 foot. He's a 6 foot striker, and he's 20 years old, so he's still quite young, and he's played 2 seasons for AZ. He's played for them from 2017, but he's really played 64 games for them, and he scored 32 goals. So that's an average of a goal every other game, which for a 20-year-old in that league is quite impressive, I think. Style of play, he's 2-footed. If you haven't seen him, go and look at some of the YouTube videos. So he's plays kind of off the left a lot. He's a striker, but he can play off the left, similar to Werner. But he's got a strong left foot and right foot. He needs to improve a little bit in the air. That's if he's got a weakness, it's aerial. But his hold-up play is good. His first touch is impeccable. Because AZ are one of the clubs similar to Ajax, who was brought up with the Dutch total football. So he's got a nice touch. He's got this nice fade he does as well to get away from players. So I think in the Premier League, you need players who can operate in tight spaces as well, because I think that's where Werner struggled initially, in that he wasn't getting that room to run in behind. And so we're coming up against these more compact defenders. You need a little trick somewhere or a good touch to get past your player. And I've seen him operate quite well in tight spaces as well. And he's quite physical as well. He's at 20, he knows how to look after himself. And in the Premier League, you need to be physical, to, because we've got those defenders, those 6'4" no nonsense defenders that you'll be playing up against in the Premier League. So he's as I said, he's got that good physique that he can handle that as well. And one other thing, I always say, why not? We're looking at the Haaland and people like that, because if you look at the likes of Dortmund, if you look at the likes of Atletico Madrid as well, these teams are very good at scouting strikers, getting good players, from players from sort of nowhere and making them into superstars. So I said, let's look at the players that they're looking at, because if we're looking at the players that they're looking at, then maybe we can get in before them and avoid paying like 80, 90 million for these players. I know it's a different kind of environment, because at Chelsea, you're there to sort of hit the ground running. Whereas if you go to a club like Dortmund, not so much Atletico, but if you're going to a club like Dortmund, expectations are a little bit lower. And as a younger player, you're given those opportunities to grow. Whereas at Chelsea, as you know already, with our fan base, it's less forgiving. So if you're not hitting the ground running from the get-go, then the fans are getting on your back, and it could be a struggle.
Yeah, at Chelsea, the fan base are so spoiled that you'd have to hit the ground running just at the point of arrival, or they start. You have some. You can say some sections of the fans will start disliking the player and start death threats and whatever. That it's been. I mean, it's crazy, but that's, by the way, at 20, that's impressive for a 20-year-old. But I have a question for you. At 20, are you suggesting signing him to come join the first team or the academy? Which do you have in mind? Do you think his qualities, fits the profile of a player that will come to the club and, head into the straight into the first team?
Yeah, that's the only thing is age is probably something which is against him. But he can come in as a part of the first team setup. I don't think he'll be as a 20-year-old. He'll be academy. He can come in as part of the first team setup because he's had that experience. He's had, I think, 3 years. Before that, he had. Can't remember which club he was at beforehand, but he's had that 3 years of top flight football already. So he can come in as part of the squad. If we keep Giroud, I'm not sure whether we are keeping him, and so we've got that experience as well. And Havertz, as we've seen in the Euros, he's been playing that false nine role to good effect for Germany. So it's just somebody else who's a fox in the box. This guy's a fox in the box as well. He'll get goals in the conversion. He'll put away these chances that we are converting. So even if it's a case of easing him into the side, and because the other thing he does as well, I think his off the ball work is quite good as well. So similar to what Tuchel's looking for, strikers who can press
put in the shit off the ball.
Exactly, yeah.
So now, given his overall profile, you can say he is like for like with Amanda Breuer. And should we sign him? Don't you think his signing will scupper the development of Amanda Breuer, or will take up the space that we've all been talking about bringing back Amanda Breuer, because she's been doing well at the Eredivisie, and he's scored quite a number of goals. He's good in the air. He's good with his feet also. He's pacey and he's good off the ball. So don't you think signing Myron Boadu will put an end to that, maybe the plan to bring back Breuer to join the first team?
Yeah, because with Breuer, I understand what you're saying. Breuer is probably 2 years behind in his development to Boadu. put it into perspective, last year I think Bryce scored 10 in 30. I think he scored 10 in 30, didn't he?
I'm not sure of his statistics.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he scored 10 in 30 for Vitesse Arnhem. So remember, this is his first season as a loanee. So maybe he'll a second season, a development season, 2 or 3 years as developing before coming back into the first team fold for him. It all depends, as I said, what we do. Because if we get rid of Giroud, then out and out strikers, we're just going to have Werner, aren't we? Left with Werner, and he's not. I wouldn't call him as a true number 9 as such. So, and it looks like Tammy's going. So, if it's two in, 2 out, then potentially it's going to be 2 in, isn't it? You'd have thought, to keep that quota going. And there's quite a lot of games that are going to be played next season as well.
Yeah,
we're going to have
a lot. So we need a big
over
squad.
60 games and we've got the although there's no one up front in the African nation, so that's not going to be affected. But we still do need a big squad for next season with the World Championships that we'll be playing again. I'll make that if we go far in all the competitions. Potentially, we're going to be playing 60+ games next season.
So with your response right now, your argument is that Broja is a bit behind in terms of development to Myron.
Yeah.
So would you say, would you say his which of the 2 players would you say is better than the other?
It's difficult to say, really. Obviously, we can do a comparison because both of them played in the Eredivisie last season. But if you're basing it on stats, goals, etc., then Myron Boadu is slightly ahead, I think, of Broja at this point in time. But as I said, this was Broja's first season, so as he develops, then maybe he will become a better player.
Okay, the argument makes sense now to me. What is his transfer value?
At the moment, his transfer value is 12.6 million. But obviously, if Chelsea come in, then that's an extra 10 million on top of that. As we always pay a premium when it comes to Chelsea, or the Premier League premium. Yeah,
£12 million, you said.
Yep. He's been looked at as well by
bad.
Yeah, and he has been looked at by the likes of Dortmund, Arsenal, and other teams have kind of looked at him, checked his progress.
That's not bad, but I have a concern here because young players seem to have learned that they're better going to the clubs like Dortmund or some German clubs where they value young players much more than we do. Although you could argue that recently that notion has changed. We're now, or some would still say it was because we had a transfer ban. That was why we were able to accommodate more young players in the team, or more from the academy than we usually do. So my concern is that, do you think he would want to come to Chelsea, or rather go to, would he rather prefer the likes of Dortmund and some other German clubs where he can be assured that of his development as a young player?
I'm with you there. I hear what you're saying, and probably Chelsea will be a step too far for him at the moment in his development. But when I was scouting this player, I just wanted to choose a player who was not one of your established ones, more of something a little bit more out of the box, somebody who you see has got a bit of potential, and somebody who you can get who maybe in a few years' time can save you those millions. Yeah. So even if it may be something like what Chelsea do sometimes in the past, where they buy a player and loan him out and see how good he is, and then at least they've got that player on their books at the moment. You know, we've seen that done in the past. We've bought a player. If they're good enough, they stay. If not, we sell them on for a bigger price.
So obviously, you know Myron very well. So are you confident that should Chelsea sign him, he would do a good job in the first team and will fit in well?
I'm not confident about any of our signings, to be honest. It's hard to say, because football is, those ones that you think are going to come in and do really well, sometimes they struggle. And sometimes it's the ones that you don't think are going to do well who come in and hit the ground running. So any transfer is a gamble. I always say that. Any transfer, even if we spent the 150 million on Haaland, that's a gamble. Because it was interesting today, I was reading something about Haaland, and it was obviously we know his attributes, his qualities, but one thing which was a red flag to me was that at Dortmund, the game is built around him. He's the main focal point at Dortmund, and his job is just to stay in and around the penalty area and wait for the chances to come. He's not out of possession. He's not expected to drop back or press or do anything like that off the ball. So at Chelsea, if he was to come, he's going to have to do more work, more of the pressing work, etc. So that's what I'm saying. So it depends on how a player settles when they come in. It depends on the environment and everything else. We're looking at Ziyech now, who everyone thought was going to be a shoo-in for success, but he's failed to settle in England. He's got a new manager who's playing in a different style to the one that he was expecting under Frank, and so at the moment it hasn't worked out for him. Obviously, next season it may be different. So with transfers, as I said, I just don't know how they're going to pan out. So I can't say with great confidence that this guy will come in and be a success. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Basically, you could say that signings are like more like packages. Packages that you don't know what's inside until you open it. And that the player's performance where they are before you sign them isn't a guarantee that they will do well when they get to your club.
Exactly. Lukaku being another prime example. At Manchester United, the environment wasn't right for him. So he didn't, although he scored a lot of goals at Manchester United, he just didn't fit their sort of style of play. He's gone over to Inter now, and he's that Lukaku and we saw him in the Euros as well. This is a confident Lukaku. He's working for a manager who's got the best out of him, and he's playing in a system that he loves. So that's another thing. We got to look at the systems that we're playing, getting in the right player who fits into that system and can work with the manager quite well. And and it's got the right character, because for me it's about character as well. So the character to succeed. So even if things are not going for you straight off, then you could say, you know what, I'm going to still fight hard because I believe in my abilities. I believe in my qualities. So that's another aspect.
Yes, I do. Do agree with you. It goes both ways. It's not just about the player. The system that the team plays also matters. If either of the two doesn't complement the other, one of them will most definitely fail. So, Max, on a final note, should Chelsea show interest? Do you think that they'd be able to secure his signature?
Personally, I think probably next season. See how if he has another good season, because he had two very good seasons, then he's going to be one that quite a lot of teams are going to be looking at. Yeah. Should we get him this season? Probably. Is he going to be? For me, he's probably in that Tammy Abraham. Not. I'll say not ability wise, but maybe he's good. But is he good for a top four club at this moment in time to push us to win the league? Maybe not. Somebody like Immobile or somebody like that, if we can't get our number one choices, is probably somebody because of their experience, etc. But he's somebody definitely worth looking at, and his career that I like to follow, because I've been quite impressed with him from what I've seen in the Eredivisie.
Okay. So a follow-up question just came to my mind right now before we round off. the question is, are you suggesting him as a replacement signing or as an alternative signing to Haaland, or just a good to have player?
For me, yeah, he'll be a good to have player. Yeah, as I said, I want to go with someone different, slightly different, rather than the obvious choices. So that's why I went for him. Yeah, if there's an alternative to Ireland, for me, I've always said it. You know, we've got an A, B, or C. The three strikers who'll make our club better are who are on the market. Not on the ones on two are on the market. No, I say only one's on the market at the moment. That's Harry Kane, who I don't think will come to us anyway. Lukaku, if we make enough noise, I think we could probably get him if we bid high enough. And obviously, a price has been set for Haaland. If we bid, say, 150 million, the talk is that Dortmund may be prepared to come to the table for him. But if we can't get one of those three, do we settle for someone below that tier? I'm not sure. There's a couple others who maybe, because I've been hearing people like Danny Ings' name mentioned. I probably won't take Ings. I rate Ings, but I just think he's better in a smaller club than a bigger club. At Liverpool, it was that club. Maybe it was too early in his career, but I think he's one of those players who won't thrive in a big club. He'll thrive more in a smaller club, because there are some players like that as well. So it's either one of those three for me to take us to the next level, or just keep Havertz and wait till next season to get someone in.
Thank you very much, Max. It's been a pleasure talking with you. So, Max, take
Likewise.
some time plugging yourself. Tell the fans how they can find you on about social media platforms where you have a presence, and how they can find your content.
Yeah, Burton Ballerz on YouTube. Right, doing all things Chelsea, whether it's transfer news. I do score predictions and match reviews, and sometimes talk a little bit about the history of the club. So if you don't know a lot about the history of the club, you can come, because I've been a Chelsea supporter for many, many years. So I know quite a lot about the club. Maxiby CFC on Twitter. I'm not a serial tweeter, but I do tweet a few tweets a day. So you'll find me on there. I've also got a Instagram under Burton Ballerz as well. And I sometimes I'm with my son Zane, who comes on the channel and talks football with me as well. So yeah, so that's where you can find me.
Thank you very much, Max, for taking the time to tell the followers how they can find your content. And I advise you to go see Max's content on Burton Ballerz, the YouTube channel. If you love to see someone who knows the club inside out, talk Chelsea, that's your place to be. Max knows the club historically and otherwise, and his content are enjoyable, and I implore you to go see it yourself. You will not be disappointed. Max, thanks again. I appreciate you finding time to be here with me. It's a pleasure having you on, and I look forward to having you on the show again.
And thank you, and good luck with your channel. Take care.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.